Yes, as said, my name is Melanie Vance. I am also a history teacher and look after the historyrocks.co.uk website, which some of you might have come across. While stuck in a car, long journey coming back from work on the M6 not so long ago, I thought back to the examining period last summer when I was stuck with stuck's not the right word, with a bunch of medieval historian examiners looking at provenance. And we were marking exam papers last summer, and as you can imagine, with those early exam papers, chronicles come up quite a lot. And there's a finite number of chroniclers, if you think about it, but it came up quite a lot. And some of the comments that came through from that was that, well, it was written by a priest, and therefore we can trust it because priests don't lie. So we were like, okay, clearly you don't know anything about the context of the period. So it really got me thinking about some of the shortfalls in how students handle provenance, particularly at A-level, but I think some of it can be drip-fed into lower school as well, and I'm trying to do that also. So the 5 issues that just came to mind whilst I was sat in the car were as follows. Number 1, that often it's quite generic. So it's things like, it was written by X, you know. It's biased, which is a personal pet peeve, and I'm sure many of you share that as well. It was written at the time, or it was written after the time, and therefore they have the benefit of hindsight. And this is still coming through at A-level standard. Other things as well is that quite a lot of commentary on provenance only tests the trustworthiness of it. So whether it's true or it's accurate, therefore it's valuable or useful. It's often quite detached from the content of the source as well. I've found that and I know this depends on what exam board you're doing and the skills that are required, but quite often they make comments about the provenance in its own sort of floating paragraph with no link to what the content of the source is saying as well. Not linking to the question, well, that's a recurring issue, isn't it, across the board. And of course, lacking balance. And again, I know that depends on the exam board and what's required, but certainly for A-level, it's quite incredible how many students think all of the sources are incredibly valuable and they are too scared to criticise any of them at all. So just picking on a couple of those, I said to them, and I've been doing this with my year 10s as well, that when you're talking about a primary source and you're talking about perhaps the individual who's written it, could you not do something a little bit on their role, their background, their views on things, what's motivated them to say what they have? Is it typical? Does it offer us insight? So to do this, we decided to make paper dolls right from the start of the year. And I must confess, when I tried to do this first, I cut them out and I picked them up and they all fell apart into individual paper dolls. We had to YouTube this and teach each other how to do it, and it was a lot of fun. So the idea with paper dolls is that you draw the image of the, I don't know, it's usually men, but that's another issue we'll come back to again. But you draw the image of said president or somebody who's created the source or something like that. So they like the idea of that. And then we annotate it with little bits of information on their background or their role or what they were doing at the time. So, for instance, Zhdanov comes up in the Russian-Soviet stuff we do, and we talk about his role in forming Cominform and his role in other things as well, or Molotov and how he criticised things after the Marshall Plan was rolled out. Another one, just to show you one more, this is I know you can't see it from the back, but you can get this off the website, it's free. But we created an AQA, and I'm sure there are other examples, value checklist, where we created between us how can a source be valuable, and then we would tick off the appropriate thing for each of the sources that they looked at. So to give you an example, the first thing on there, does the source reveal anything about causes, consequences, or impact? And if it does, they can tick it off. Elsewhere we've got, is the source surprising or revealing or not intended for public consumption? And we tick it off as appropriate. And that way, it got them to think about the value of sources beyond something being trustworthy. And I will leave it there. Thank you very much.